Thanks everyone for joining. My name is Shiva. I worked at a variety of different places, but very close to the creator space. So I was at YouTube for the first 10 years. You'll be happy to know I shipped the letter K.
You should know.
Yeah, exactly. And then, went on to Spotify and a lot of different companies that have done really interesting things during the last generation of evolution, which was bandwidth on the internet. So I feel a little bit old, but also getting into things like mobile. And I haven't been more excited than now, as you all are as well, to the types of things we can do. So I'm really excited to kick off the panel. And we'll have to shake it up a little bit because you all just presented. So we'll try to mix it up. But why don't we first start off with something that's a little tricky right now, which is predictions. And it's impossible, so just have fun with it. We're not going to hold you to it. But if you could just step back and think about a use case in the future that you are going to empower for your customers that isn't possible now, what would that be? How about we start off at the end? Cool. Yeah.
So something we've been thinking about, we just launched our own agent product, so it's as if you have your expert design partner sitting right next to you, helping you. And so something I imagine being not too far in the distant future is instead of typing everything out that you need help with, why not have voice and just actually describe it, talk about it, have a much more fluid conversation with your agent. And so I do think that's not too far in the distant future, and I can imagine that experience feeling much more delightful than having to actually type everything out.
Yeah, it's one follow-up on that. How much do you think about the one-to-one personalization versus what we've seen in the past is like you pick 5 personalities and you talk to one of them and they stay true to that personality versus a friend that gets to know you. How do you think about that world, especially with voice?
I think there's going to be a need for kind of different kind of applications, right? So sometimes when you're kind of in the creative realm, you want a creative sparring partner that might push you in different ways. If you're writing something that's for your boss or for like a strategy deck, it's very different than if you're trying to do creative work for a project for your teacher, where maybe you're trying to explore something that's a little bit more poetic and going down a different path. And so that might require different types of personalization. But you need the context, you need the memory of everything you've done in the past. And so I think the magic will be, regardless of the use case, we can adapt and allow you to really pull on, in our case, Gamma, in a way that is most meaningful to you at that point in time.
Oh, and just one thing, before you talk, just give your name and your company just in case people are new. But go ahead.
Okay, Zhao here, co-founder of Manus AI, and right now acting as our chief product officer here. Yeah, so back to your question. I think it's like we kind of believe in a future that we will, or maybe somebody else will, build a product that can influence for a single user 24 hours, Yeah, because, just when you are looking at users' behavior today, which is maybe if you guys open your ChatGPT app and looking at the history, I believe on an average basis, it should be maybe like 3 or 5 questions a day. Which means, each question may consume OpenAI 10 seconds of their GPU time, right? So which means 5 questions maybe costing 30 seconds of their GPU time. But what I believe, in the not very far future, maybe 2 years or 3 years later, there is going to be some product that can influence for single user 24 hours, which means we will not be the limit. Because, in my earlier session, I just say that humans right now just limits the true potential of LMs, because right now, LMs need the human to ask the question, to trigger it, and then we can get the intelligence behind that. But we believe in a future, maybe like 2 years or 3 years later, there will become some kind of agent system that will influence for you based on all your context and figure out what he should do, what he should do, what he can do, and even without your questions, he will prepare everything behind the scene. And when you really need it, it's already there. So that's kind of the future we are looking at, yeah.
Okay, and do you see it going so far as to be like an advisor for different things, or like?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think advisor is kind of like a really good concept when you say that. I never thought of that, but when you say the advisor word, I think that's kind of the thing, yeah.
Yeah. He's just thinking about it. Yeah. Exactly. It's good.
Hi, I'm Yang from OpusClip. So what I'm envisioning in probably 1 or 2 years in our industry is that I think AI should be able to do a lot more complex things than just taking a very straightforward instruction on getting done like one straightforward job. So I just demoed our HeyGen product. I think AI is, well, people talk about like AI editor or like AI clipping or avatar, right? Those are like very down to earth and specific tasks. But think about director, right? What is the job of a director? They're managing like a team of multiple people. So that level or perspective of complexity, I think is one thing that AI will be able to handle very meticulously and strategically. We're seeing that happening already, but they're like probably doing 95% of the job in A, 95% of the job in B. So there are some hit or mismatch along the way, but they're getting there. So the level of complexity in creation will bring AI from like a straightforward executor to like a partner, your co-founder for like a very complex goal, not just a task, but like to achieve your goal together with you.
Very interesting.
Yeah, my name is Rong. I'm CTO for HeyGen, and we are a AI video creation company. So yeah, that's why we know a lot of great friends here. So if you think about the futures, this is one thing I always tell my friends that was working in a similar area is that if you think about video, so I mean currently we position ourselves as a video creation company, which is proud of. But if you think about videos, video is actually very similar to website, a static website back in 1999, right? So it's linear, unidirectional. There's no interactions. If you think about how a website evolved later, so it's becoming a web app that was written in a JavaScript. It's personalized, it's interactive. So I don't know how many of you actually tried HeyGen. I mean, there's actually a interesting product called Interactive Avatar, and pretty much basically that allow you to talk to an avatar that was cloned from yourself, almost like a real person. So I think that's actually a very interesting piece what the future will look like. You can imagine video is not going to be a file. Instead, it will be iframes. So, and for any persons, you can customize the arrow, you can customize the avatar, you can customize the contents real time. I show that for 30 seconds, and then I switch to an interactive avatar. Then that person, that avatar can answer your questions. They will say, okay, do you have any question for the video I just show you? And this can literally become an entry point for everything. In the futures, maybe that whole product experience become an iframe. And that iframe, the agent itself, will control the experience behind it. So I think that could be a future. So I know it will take a long time to be there, but I think it could happen.
Very interesting. Yeah, back in the day, there was a website called Subservient Chicken. Does anyone remember this at all? Okay, I might be too old. I really feel it. But you could go on the web, and you'd basically ask this chicken to do any dance or say anything like that.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah, so we were hacking HeyGen and a couple of other tools to reproduce that just to see what, so it could be here. We'll see. Yeah,
that's good.
All right, let's take it down to reality right now. Yeah. One thing that's cool with AI is you're giving people superpowers, but also at a lower cost. So as an example, I was there at YouTube for the first 10 years, and we actually didn't create much video ourselves because it was too expensive to create, which is sort of crazy, right? And so the result of that is we do one around product launches and things like that. But it's an example of something today, maybe you'll create 100 a day, as you've already mentioned, right? And what's happening with OpusClip, for example. But when you think about your products, what is something you'd like to see today happen, or you are seeing today happen, much more frequently with your customers, thanks to what you do, or in partnership with each other? And how about I start with you, Jan?
Well, I think I'm seeing two interesting trends. The first one is, so before I think before 2 years ago, on social media, the number of PGC and UGC creators are drastically increasing. However, the number of UGC creators are kind of stagnating or even decreasing. they don't see any chance of continuously creating content on social media to make a living or even make sense. So I think in the past 2 years with the power of AI, we are seeing that the PGC/OGC type of creators are increasing more crazily, probably like doubling or 50% year over year increasing in the past 1 or 2 years. But also that brings in to the UGC creators as well. There are so many more UGC creators. They're kind of revibrated. They finally got a chance to got a super low entry barrier to create contents continuously. Well, regardless of the quality, they're just getting the chance at least. So both UGC and PGC are increasing drastically thanks to the technologies of AI. I think that's what I'm seeing.
Yeah, for us, one thing I think a lot about is if with technology you can really help both lower the floor and increase, raise the ceiling for a user, then there's just opportunities for them to do things that weren't possible in the past, and that unlocks new use cases, right? So for us, in the sort of broader presentation space, or anybody that needs to present their ideas, if the sort of only vessel that is possible is PowerPoint, then that's pretty limited. There's only so many destinations that PowerPoint can take you. But if the vessel is something else, then there's maybe many more destinations, right? And so for us, we really want to unlock those use cases that weren't possible with incumbent tools. And we're spending a lot of time kind of spending with our users saying, if we give you these right building blocks, what might you create? And making sure that we can always kind of pave a clear path for kind of where they see the future.
We saw, I just want to echo your points, which is we think the AI technology actually is just lower the bar of letting people to create. In Manus, actually, everybody's asking about what's your use cases, and I can say maybe it's maybe more than 20 or 30% of the usage is about writing web pages. But we don't want to say Manus is just another website builder, because it's totally different. People came to Manus not just to build a website. Nobody wants that many websites, right? But we just believe that web page is kind of just like the new PowerPoint. It's just a way to express themselves. It's after you did some research on Manus, we have very detailed information and data, right? But if you only put this information into a text-based report, it's just not that attractive, right? So we will recommend our users that maybe you can just convert all your research in this session into a very visualized, web page. Yeah, that's kind of a new way to write reports or express yourselves. So based on that, maybe given that next year, even this year, you're gonna see a lot more web pages created by users because they have the power to do that. Yeah, so that's kind of the thing we're seeing right now. Yeah.
Yeah, so I can probably also add a little bit on HeyGen. I really like the perspective of express yourself, because that's one thing that I think also HeyGen was thinking along the line, because our mission is really about visual storytelling and enable everyone to do visual storytelling. If you can see, what we are trying to do is that we actually have a very mix of customer right now. So I would say roughly 80%, 50% of our prosumers, and 25% small medium business, and 25% enterprise. So you can see their use cases are very different. So, and you can look at one of our best user, our agency, for example. So they are really trying to generate a massive amount of video using the similar templates and similar avatar, but you can try very different variants. But you can also see some other people, for example, general users, because the key things we really not only want to focus on those big people, but it's just everyday people like us. What we call, internally we call it content professional. The content professional are the one that know how to build Google Doc, but I don't know how to build videos. So you want to enable those kind of people to build videos, and you can see a lot of people just say, okay, I throw your Google Docs in, I can automatically spit out the videos coming out of it. And there's another cool perspective that actually I don't think we ever talk too much out of the external, but we really get out of it these days after talking to our user. It's the identity piece. So because we have one product called Instant Avatar, and that's really trying to replicate yourself, trying to replicate your images and your voice into that avatar. So that actually enables some things that was very unique we never think about. So, and I actually put that into a board of directors report like 3 months ago, is that like there was one user who have a health issues. He basically permanently lost his voice afterwards, right? So, and then, but what he did, he's actually a HeyGen user, so he recalled his voice and appearance before that. So he actually using the same voice and appearance to run his business, continuously do that, even due to these health conditions issues. So I say, wow, that's eye-opening. Originally, I think we just help people to build video, but now it looks like we're actually helping people to build something bigger than just video in that cases. So I think, yeah, this is what we really want to strive for. It's like not just focus on a particular thing, but if we can do something bigger than that, that would be more interesting.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, one theme across all of you right now is that I see we're big users of at least 3 of your tools, probably will be 4 soon. But the key thing is sometimes I have an idea and I'm actually not sure what to create, right? So you can think about in the gamma example, which is, hey, I want to represent this fact, but I don't know how to visualize it. So it becomes an open-ended thing. Like, I don't actually know what slide I want you to create. So as you think about it, it's the same thing. Like, what should I actually say? I don't know what terms resonate with someone. Yeah. So it's not just taking my voice, it's giving me semantics. Oh. So I'm interested in, like, how do you balance that out? Because there's utility and optimizing that. Then there's knowledge base with opinionation. Can you talk a little bit about that? And one of you feel free to chime in if it's something you're looking at. Anyone? Yeah.
Maybe I can get started.
Yeah. I think as the hand, you might have some opinions. Yeah.
So I think we really do have this problem, which is we kind of like a generation. Yeah. We can do a very different type of tasks, right? Okay. But it's really hard, to convince the user that what's your first task you should get started with us. Yeah, and we really put a lot of thinking and efforts on that. And we right now we kind of have some like a recommendation algorithm behind that. It's like if you don't have a very specific purpose, and we will like guide you along the way through different questions. It's like, okay, like, do you want me to write a draft, maybe, some outline for this task? Right. And after that, was okay, now we have the outline. Can I proceed to build this outline into slides? So I think it's really like how we work, how we work as an agency with our clients, right? It's like it's always that your clients didn't know what they want until you do some consulting first, and then you get some answers about that. Yeah. So right now, I think we do this kind of like a consulting every day for maybe more than 30% of our users. Makes sense. Yeah, because they don't know what they want at the last.
Yeah, maybe I can add a little bit here. So this is a tough question, by the way. So I love tough questions. This point, going back to some of the narrative I just mentioned, we actually want to focus more on content professional instead of creative professional. And this is also one thing fundamentally differentiate HeyGen with many other companies in general. If you look at like Sora or look at like VO3, so there's a lot more like cinematic video components come from there. But I think the problem we're trying to resolve here is that, okay, if we are all content professional, we are 99% of the people, but we cannot produce video, then there must be something broken here. So, and that's why I fundamentally also believe content professionals are creative. They are just not creative in building video. So that's why, like, to some degree, I'm not going to solve the content professionals' creative problem. So you can write Google Doc very easily. You may even not write a novel yourself. But I think the difficulty is actually, okay, how do you convert your creativities into a video that can clearly articulate what you're thinking? Maybe I can bring in a little bit more creativity on top of that. So that's actually the kind of a balance between being creative and being opinionated. Like, that's a balance I want to strike. So, but I would say we are probably focused more on helping the content professional to articulate what they are thinking about directions right now.
Cool. Let me jump to a slightly different topic, which is we've got There's a lot of platforms out there that are very horizontal right now. I would argue for a lot of the tasks that we see, they don't do any of them well. They do all of them sort of okay. And then we have, including on stage, a lot of vertical-oriented apps. Now, even that vertical might converge more, as you've talked about. Presentations are the best storyboards for video. Why not go there? Those types of things. But where do you see this netting out, right? And this is also, it's an interesting one. We could all merge one day, but the other side of it is specialty versus, horizontal, and what's the interplay? Do you want to start? Right.
I mean, I definitely think there's room for both. And I think the real magic is when a generalist agent or AI can work with a specialist AI, right? So for instance, one day we'd love to be able to partner with platforms like Glean. Glean sits on top of a company's knowledge base, has a ton of first-party data. That's great, and they can help synthesize, sift through all of that information. The moment someone needs to create something like a presentation, a strategy deck, something to inform the partners about something, why not be able to tap into that amount of knowledge and then use a visual storytelling tool like ours to be able to package it up the right way, send it out, distribute it, and that way you get the best of both. Right? You have the generalist tool, access to knowledge, you have the specialist tool that can really get the job done for that specific use case, and ideally those work really, really well together.
Definitely, we believe that the agent market is kind of be a huge market comparing to the market size today. We think it's just maybe 1% of the future market size. So that's going to be room for both agents. But why we choose to be the general one is because we choose our market. It's we want to do a massive consumer market, and in the massive consumer market, I think it's best to do a general thing, because if you want to build something for consumers, and you only go some very vertical. And in the long run, you will find it's very hard to get users, because you can only solve very small part of their life, and they want to even remember you when they need you, right? Because it's every time, I was the judge of many AI hackathons in the past 2 years, and in these hackathons, there's always be one kind of project which is AI trip planner. Yeah. But for normal people, how many trips they will do in a year? Maybe just one or two, maybe zero, right? Yeah. So it's very hard for consumer to remember your name when they really need you. So we think if you want to go to the massive consumer market, it's very important to be general. At least you can do not just the one type of task, right? So that's why we choose to do the general way. But definitely, we believe for verticals, there must be some professional agents, like HeyGen. Actually, we will release our integration with HeyGen next week. Yeah, that's why, because we know we're not experts in that vertical, so we will use HeyGen to handle these tasks. Yeah.
We are very fortunate of having.
Yeah.
Yang, any thoughts?
Yeah, I actually believe there are definitely spaces for both type of companies to live. And on one side, I think there is no very clear boundary between general and specialty. For example, even in the space of video, what is general, what is specialty, right? There are so many use cases and markets, even in the space of video. So I think the terms are not black and white, but there's a huge gray scale. On the other side, I believe that, like what Brent and Tal said, I think the agents should definitely, or the products should definitely, collaborate together even more closely. The key is not about what technologies or specialty you have, but what context you have. So as long as you have the right context, you can solve the problems in the best way. That's why like what Grant said, if Glean can provide better context, you can definitely derive better presentation or videos for different use cases. So I'm definitely seeing the opportunities to work more closely, even with HeyGen or other products in the next phase. We're launching integrations very soon as well, right?
Yeah. Is that an announcement?
Everyone's integrating HeyGen.
I feel like this is the perfect place as we talk about we have a co-marketing.
All right. You want to add anything?
No, the only thing I think they said it really well here. I'm glad we have a lot of partners in these cases. I guess, yeah, it's less about vertical and horizontal. I mean, it's probably because you have seen so many successful stories for both vertical and horizontal here, there's really hard to tell the boundary between those two, but it's really about like aha moment, I think. Is that no matter whether you do vertical or horizontal, you only have 1 minute for your users. Yeah, can you actually impress your user, your ICP in that 1 minute? Right? So if you can do that, no matter it's vertical or horizontal, you can do a good job for that. So in many cases, even you are very horizontal, you still want to find a core group of users that can do really well for that particular use case. You start from there and as a seeding users. And then you expand across it. Maybe the underlying capability are very horizontal, but you want to start with some set of users that really like your product. And they can be your ambassador to make it happen afterwards. So that's why I don't really feel like there's a really strong boundaries there, but it's really how can you make the user happy? I think that's the key things.
Why don't we switch a little bit more towards the engineering challenges, right? And could you reflect on, so right now, so much progress has been made. It's pretty exciting what happens every day. But we also know that we're starting to hit limits and walls. Are there any engineering challenges you would like to see solved, right, that would unlock your potential more, right? You don't have to disclose whether you're working on them or not right now, but if you can, go for it. But trying to understand, like, how do you look at the world of the technological layer, and what breakthroughs do we need to see? So why don't I actually start with you?
Okay, yeah, so I'll probably start with, and for those of you who know a little bit about HeyGen, you know we grow up because of being an avatar company. We work on avatar video at the very beginning. I continue to see that we're lucky enough to become one of the top companies in that space because fundamentally, avatar is about human modeling. So, and human modeling, it's actually critical foundations for video generation and to actually the futures of the storytellings that we are imagining here. So that's why there's, if I going deeper into like this space, we realize just so many things we haven't been able to tackle yet. For example, how can you handle the subtle motions of a people? How can you actually handle full body motions? How can you handle gestures? How can you handle like human objects sort of interactions with each other? So I don't think this is a problem even like the biggest company can actually handle right now. So, so that's why I think there is a very, very deep research space that we can get into at this moment. And of course, like in the long terms, you can see a lot more things you can develop on top of it, like cloning a person. But my expectation is that in 6 to 12 months, this could potentially pass Turing test in the sense that you present two videos in front of humans, they probably cannot even tell whether it's real humans or fake humans. So yeah, but this will be a continued research topic.
There's two things that we're thinking a lot about. The first is, with AI, you have a chance to invent new surface areas or new user interfaces. And I think what used to be, you'll have a tool that's super powerful, a tool like PowerPoint's been worked on for 30, 40 years, really powerful tool. You have to, as a user, you need to figure out which menu to find the right feature, which sequence of things you need to do to get it to do something. And so what if, instead, you never have to have any of that UI, and you can describe what you need to do, and in this case, Gamma can present a variety of options for you, try to predict like what you're trying to accomplish. I think it's an interesting problem, and I don't think it's been solved well yet, and certainly, even like a tool like ours that gets better or adds more functionality, it's an increasingly challenging problem. So it's something we're thinking a lot about. The other is we're going from a tool that has historically been much more of a prosumer tool, so individuals going in, using Gamma. We are now starting to enter a market where we have, in some cases, tens of thousands of users. How do you serve that same experience where, on a personal level, you go into your workspace, you want it to feel more personal, you want to organize folders a certain way. Now you have 10,000 colleagues that also want to access maybe some of the same things, but also want to organize in their own way. And so I think it's an interesting challenge of many of these tools will have to figure out how to graduate into a very sort of much larger base of users, all trying to pull your tool in different ways. And how do you still deliver a magical experience where they still get a ton of delight, but it has all the power kind of underneath the hood?
Makes sense.
Yeah. I think like what I said in my previous presentation, I think taste is one thing that we are, we're working the hardest. It's really hard to like verify, measure, define taste, and it's even harder to evaluate that and improve it, right? If you can't measure, you can't improve. So we started investing and researching that topic like nearly 2 years ago. Think about like how you tell a story. There are so many perspective about taste, like the visual taste, the sound taste, the script taste, and so many others, right? Take one example, like if you are creating an ad, a video ad, like we are not creating ads, but I think that's an adjacent market that I can give an example. For a successful video ads, the script itself is taking more than 50% of the influence of the ads conversion. That's what I learned from our go-to-market team. But you can clearly tell whether the script is written by an AI or humans.
Yeah.
Even for the written script, the taste of AI is still catching up a lot to be authentic, and not to mention other visuals, motions, animations, crazy stuff. So that's probably one thing I think we should still need to invest further.
I think for us, it's always about like how to make the agent can run for a very longer period, right? It's like, as I just mentioned, we want the agent to run 24 hours for a single user, but right now we can't do that because like we think right now the LLM is still based on transformers. It's still like based on states.
Yes.
And we are always looking about like different researches about these stateless models, but right now they're not very major.
Yeah.
But who knows, right? It's like
Yeah,
only the transformers only dominating this in less than 3 years. So we were expecting that in the future there's gonna be some like a stateless model, then our long-running agents can work. Right now we are just pushing the limits and boundaries of existing models by doing a lot of engineering tricks around the context engineering. Yeah, but we believe in the future the model will solve the problem. Yeah.
Okay, no, makes sense. All right, there's a lot of builders out there, and and investors in builders, and they're trying to give their companies advice. One of the big things that's happening right now, and you all are very open, so that you have so many different types of users using your platforms, as you've mentioned. How do you stay in touch with them practically, right? Especially as you scale up, you all have thousands of people now. And how do you put that culture in your teams, right? I think in the past, what we often saw was as things get bigger, the engineering team no longer talks to customers, right? Designers are getting orders from different people. I think that world is blown up. I think we could all say that. But the flip side is, how do you scale that, right? And you're all very lean, I believe.
Yeah.
You want to start? Yeah.
Yeah, something we've really tried to do from the very beginning, and this is something I advise all startup, is like you never lose connection with the customer or the end user. You have to do everything you possibly can to fight the temptation that even if you get big, the customer can feel like this sort of faceless entity where you just have a lot of users and just assume everything will work out. I think you need to find ways to build that connection. So for us, early on, when we first started getting our very first repeat users, we would start inviting our power users to our own Slack workspace. We called it the Gambassador program, which is a place where any one of them can give us immediate feedback. They're the first ones to report a bug that happens. They're the first ones that get access to prototypes when we're designing things. They'll tell us when things are working, when they're not, and you have that really close relationship. If you're lucky enough to also start building even like a social presence, our mentality is we just think about keeping DMs open at all times. Anybody can reach me on LinkedIn or Twitter. If they had feedback for me, I will listen. If they really want to jump on a call, I'll jump on a call. Yeah. And I think that just gives you a chance where feedback is gold. If someone is kind enough to want to give that to you, you should take the time to do it, no matter how big you get. And so that mentality, I think, permeates throughout our entire organization. And whether it's an engineer or designer, now that we're growing our go-to-market team, every single one of them is in a position where they can interface with our users or customers, bring that feedback back to our team, and make sure we're constantly learning and iterating.
Yeah. So I'll just start with some traditional ways. Yeah, it's like, after release Manus, I spent 1 month in States, from West Coast to East Coast. Yeah. We host more than 15 user meetups cool. in different cities in States. And why we want to host this user meetups is because we think general agent is so new. It's a new thing. people are just, they don't know what it is. So we just want to do face-to-face and to introduce the product using. And actually, it works, We got like so many volunteers and the early adopters for Manus user meetups. And later, we kind of launched a program we call Manus Fellows. Yeah, Fellows. Yeah, Manus Fellows. So right now, we have fellows around the world. Oh. So each week, there's going to be 3 to 4 events hosted by our volunteers, by our fellows around the world in different countries. And that really works, that creates the love for our user community. So that's kind of like the traditional way. We do user meetups everywhere. And let's talking about some like a new scalable way. Right now we are using AI, to summarize all the user feedback from all channels, like Twitter, LinkedIn, and all the internal feedback system. But that's a lot. Like every day we will receive thousands of these messages, and we don't have time to read them all. So we will use AI to summarize them into different topics. So some are positive, some are negative, and we will push that report on a daily basis into our Slack channel to make sure everyone is reading about what customers are talking about us. That's one way. Another way is like we value like user interview too. But sometimes when you are busy on the product engineering side, you just say, okay, I'm busy. I don't have time for the interview. But we think that must change. So from last month, we kind of invented some mechanism. It's like whenever there are some users will meet our criteria, like if you are a Manus Pro user, which, Pro user, you need to pay us $200 a month. That's a lot, right? So we think definitely we should interview them. So if a Pro user, or maybe you use Manus on a daily basis every day, right? We think you are also super important. So we will use AI to contact these users to negotiate with them that if they have time for an interview with our product managers, then if they say they have the time, we will just, create a calendar event with the user and our product manager. And we have a rule that every product manager will do at least 2 user interviews every week. So whenever they saw there's an event coming in the calendar, they say, okay, this is a thing I must do. That's a thing.
And I heard about you, by the way, when I went to VidCon, and every creator was talking about you. So for what it's worth, you've got a natural community out there. But how are you interfacing with them?
I'm gonna say that. So we basically segment our customers into 3 circles. The core circle is about the highest end, best quality users. Like we go to trade shows every month. Like at least once a month. So VidCon, right, in June, we're going to V Summit in 2 weeks. We basically go to every major trade shows. Well, it's similar to like the meetups actually, right? So you meet your customers, you meet the pro, you meet the enterprise business customers out there, because they are willing to pay 100,000 ticket to visit the trade show, right? So they are super, they pay like 2 to 3,000 K. 2 to 3K for the trade show ticket. They're paying a lot for your product. So those are the high-end customers. And then for the middle ground, like we do have a goalie system. Like we have engineering goalie, product goalie, design goalie, marketing goalie. So 4 goalies running every week, and they are sharing in like 2 sessions weekly. One on the technical side, and one on the customer use case or PMF side.
So that's an all-hands presentation?
Yeah, it's like all hands. Everyone is welcome to join. Normally, 60, 50 people joining every week for those 2 sessions. And for the biggest circle, what we do is we replace our customer support with AI a lot. So I think there's a tricky thing so we hired a lot of offshore customer support specialists in Asia, in LATAM. They're actually even cheaper than AI customer support right now. So if you think about the unit economy, the offshore customer support is like probably 10% cheaper. But why we still replace them is because it's easier to analyze the AI customer support.
Okay, we might be in a bubble actually, so.
Possibly, yeah. So like we replace them with AI, paying 10% premium. But we got a very comprehensive analysis of every single conversation, every single ticket, every single issues we solved. And at least, our PMs and engineers found them much more useful than the offshore teams handling those. So yeah, over 80% of our customer support tickets are handled by AI right now, and they're getting over 100 customer insights every week.
Amazing.
Yeah, it seems I do the engineering stuff. So I mean, I talk a little bit about engineering. So yeah, engineering need to talk to customer also. So yeah, there should not be a misunderstanding. It's okay, this is all PM's job, so I don't care. I just build product. No, I think engineering need to understand customer. I think that's very important. I think we do a lot of common stuff. Also, customer support. Actually, we use AI also. Maybe I can talk about which vendor we should use. But yeah, definitely, you can see a lot of benefit coming out from there. But there's some things that I would say interesting that we do. First, we actually have a HeyGen hate channel that people will hate. You will share from the social media, like who's hating HeyGen. So and then we just like. Oh, you do it? Okay, so maybe that's not that unique. I copied that from Snapchat hate channel, so Snapchat have that. And then every single day you can see, okay, why people was hating us. And then engineer will jump in to say, okay, oh, this is an issue I want to fix. So it creates some kind of a more bonding feelings for them to, okay, this is why people don't like us and we need to fix it. So, and second thing is that we intentionally keeping our organization very flat. So, and you just don't need to create hierarchy for the sake of creating hierarchy. And fundamentally, I believe what AI really helping us is that we're going to have less people to build more stuff. So in this case, it's a lot of common wisdom will not apply. So you can totally using like, I don't know, 50 engineers do a lot more things than what it used to be. And the good thing is that once you have a smaller organization, you keep the communication loop much tighter. So you make yourself that I can easily get the CEO, CPO message down to the individual engineer much quicker in that cases. And also we are getting very used to skip level conversations, getting very used to ambiguity conversations. So we believe every single IC are capable of tackling customer problem so by themselves. So a manager don't even need to get involved. Yeah. So I think that's also very important because like once you get into this kind of small group conversations, things move way faster. So, and that's also another critical thing I want to bring up.
Awesome. A lot of gold there, so hopefully everyone can learn from that. Okay, last question, which is, one of the things, you all have some level of open-ended chat interfaces now, right? And to your point, I think the UIs need to evolve, and constraint sometimes leads to creativity, sometimes it just drives you to what you need to do. But because they're open-ended, you probably get asked really crazy things, right? So how do you find value in that, right? Like, do you look for things that might be adjacent? How are you mining those queries or those questions? Just curious, like, how are you thinking about that world? Maybe we'll start with you as you just opened up Young with the AI kind of video creation as an example.
I think that insight actually started already 2 years ago, even before we built the agent for OpusClip. Because so the tricky thing is that we market that we can clip any type of content in the day one. But in the day one, we only can clip spoken content. Right. Well, after 1 year, we can literally clip any type of content. But the motivation of building that clip anything actually did come from the user's insight, the user's input. So they drop a lot of sports content. They want to find like Cristiano Ronaldo, scoring a goal. They want to find a funny joke from a comedian performance. They want to clip the highlight of a music. They want to clip their gameplay. And we all return failed for those use cases, and they hated us on social media. They said, no, they can't do everything I tried. They're fake. But I think those are, the insights we distilled, and thanks to the multimodality video understanding, we are able to do every single use case that they requested. I think the funnest thing that we find was they want AI to clip jokes. And we tried it very hard. I think so far they're not doing a good job yet. We did
tried hard to be funny.
It's very cracked and very weird. So out of the whole content, AI was very struggling finding out real joke that makes sense. So as I mentioned, we do have a taxonomy pipeline of all kinds of different, best practices in different genres. But even for, but especially for comedian jokes, that's the hardest one. Yeah.
So for us, when we first started, we allowed users, there's like a little tiny prompt box, and then we figured, oh, if someone just enter what they want to create a presentation on, it seems pretty logical. We'll see what people create. Turns out people would copy and paste a whole wall of text into this little prompt box. And we're like, okay, what are they trying to do? Well, they were actually copy and pasting from like a Word doc into that. Or they would actually try to paste in a link from a Google Drive link to like their Google Doc, right? And so we realized that in many cases, people were trying to use their existing work so that they can allow Gamma to synthesize it, visualize it, and we weren't supporting that use case by just having a tiny little prompt box. So over time, we've tried to figure out what are different on-ramps into Gamma. If you have existing work, what does that look like? How might we step through that process when it's a very different workflow than if you are just trying to generate a report on X, Y, and Z. That can be simple. That fits in the small prompt box. And so it's kind of just evolving, seeing kind of user patterns. And of course, as the tool can do more, the expectations raised, and then you have to see what people are trying to do.
Go first.
Yeah, so I think that's a very good question. It's actually timely. We also just shipped our agent product last week.
Yes.
So, and then, and then there's a lot of good observations. In fact, I would say, and there's some people just like enter like a couple words, like Google type of a keyword use case. Yeah, okay, so of course you can understand that. There's also people like going to ChatGPT to generate the entire screenplay. And then you just like send it into the prompt box, and which it can come up with some magics. And of course, the agent hopefully can handle all those things if possible. And but one of my sort of favorite use case these days is that at least for myself. So I just do an NBA top news like podcast style, and coming back to my feed and every single day. So it become a workflow. So in that case, it's basically one prompt that I can get like a video every day and with different contents. So I think that's an interesting way of using it. Yeah. So and also, but you can see like once you throw that out, you can see a lot of wild things that we cannot handle right now. So I don't remember how many error cases I need to add to say this cannot handle, I cannot handle. Like for example, people will just ask you to generate a random animal avatar that can speak like a human, whatever type of things. So we are not fully there yet, but hopefully we'll be there. So, but it's a learning experience for us to see what people exactly want at this time, I think. Yeah.
I say for us, it's like, because when we were building, before we released Manus, we try like really different type of tasks with Manus. We said, oh, this is amazing. Definitely we're gonna be the first general agent, right? So when we released Manus, we put 43 use cases on our website. We are so proud of that. We said, okay, this is general. But when the real user came to our product, we know, okay, what general means to a normal user means. Some user will just say, okay, helping me to earn $1,000 with no instructions, just helping me to earn $1,000. So we think, yeah, definitely, it's really hard, to be a general agent. Yeah, sometimes we just get very frustrated by that. But after that, there are some users who like try to focus on the benefits of AI. And then, there's some real magic happens. I always remember, I think he may be the youngest Manus user. Akira, he's Japanese, but they live in Singapore. So we met with Akira back in April. At that time, he came to our user meetups in Singapore. And he's only 7. And he's talking about his love for Manus. We were shocked. We didn't expect that there's like 7 years old people gonna benefit from Manus. And after that, because we moved to Singapore too, so we keep contact with him, and we were seeing him like use Manus to taught himself to learn Python, and he is using Manus to run a club in his school. And he's trying to do some business with Manus, with his schoolmates, And that's really amazing. It's like really like to extend the human's reach. Yeah. Cool. So that's kind of like my favorite use cases. Yeah.
Okay. Hey, I'm gonna end on a warm note. We have one more question. Okay. One thing that's cool about AI and what's happening now is I've never seen a technology where parents are using it with their kids as much as this one. Trying new things, doing it together. And that really speaks to the accessibility of what's happening right now, but also the joy of creation. So if you do have kids, or if you've seen use cases with kids and families on your platform, and I'll just give you an example. Like we use Gamma to create comic books all the time. It's pretty fucking amazing. Okay, it's really cool. But and it's just fun. And these kids sketch something and bring something to life. So curious what you're seeing in that world, and how do you embrace it, or how do you think about that? Well, I'll start with you.
Sure, that's a tough question. I'm a father of 2 kids.
Yeah.
So, and then their school just banned using the cell phone, so that's why I don't know how to find the right lines of that. So, also, this reminds me when I was working in Snapchat, I get asked by the same questions. Yeah. So it's like, okay, as a social media, social network, how do you think about children's? So I fundamentally believe all technology advance have its benefits. So I think it's not about blocking them. It's more about how can you leverage it in the right way. So yeah, just like school right now, we think about should they block ChatGPT? They should not do it. So instead, that's actually a tool. It's going to be used by many, many people in the futures. So that's why it's more about how they should use it in using the right way in these cases. So that's why at the end for my kids right now, to be honest, I do not allow her to use social media. Yeah. That's one of the things that I will do. So, but I think that's the right way to do it. But on the other hand, I think for example, for creation tool like HeyGen or Opus or Manus, I think there's a lot of beneficial things. I just creating a videos for her, going to Universal Studio with her friends. When she see that, she was amazed by what AI can do. And another thing I do, we actually build a video journal with her. So basically, we come back from Costa Rica, and then I just put in a bunch of images and video, and that come up with something that was amazing. But you can see once they get access to the power of AI, they will start to think about how can you leverage it in the futures. So yeah, it's more about how to guide them instead of.
Okay, yeah, I guess that. Yeah, so I also father of 2 kids. Yeah, I also limiting their usage for their phone. But I believe AI is super important. Just I think they're just right now they're 7 and 10, and when they go to the job market, if you don't know how to operate AI, it's just 20 or 30 years ago that you want to find a job without knowing how to operate a computer, right? So right now I'm teaching them about using AI, and sometimes they will just use very simple words. It's okay, I want something. And definitely it will fail, because you right now you have to learn the right way to collaborate with AI. So right now I'm focusing on to teach them how to talk to AI. It's when they fail, I was okay. Let's review your prompt, right? Why you fail? Because you don't describe your task in a very detailed way. So I will try to communicate with them, what's the right way for human, to co-pilot interact with AI, and that really helps, After some months, right now, I always will review their history with AI. Yeah, I'm bad father, I know, yeah. But when I review the prompts, comparing to 3 or 4 months ago, now their ability to express their needs just improves. I think that's a good thing, yeah.
I'll keep it quick since I think time's almost up, but my use case is similar to yours, creating comic books with my kids. I think there's nothing that's more rewarding to be able to build something that, for them it feels so tangible. I learned PowerPoint when I was my son's age. So the fact that, having a tool where when I first used PowerPoint, it felt like magic. Be able to create something from nothing is an amazing feeling. For my son, sitting on my lap, doing that using Gamma, and see his eyes light up, that magic, and then feeling oh, that's a company that my dad built. That's the most rewarding feeling in the world, and something that really, for me, energizes me every single day to try to push the product even further.
Wonderful way to wrap up. Thank you all, and please, round of applause for our guests.